All right, good evening. Again, first I want to thank Joe and Barbara and the Charlesview community for hosting us once again. It's always good to be with dedicated community members. In so many ways in these conversations, my heart breaks and then is made whole again. It breaks at the cruelty, but then it's made whole again by the compassionate response of community. What was shared here today was deeply alarming. A senior denied their medication, a young woman unable to shower or eat for days, people forced to endure harsh conditions in the lobby of a processing facility not designed or equipped for living. The inhumanity, the indignity, the cruelty of it all. But for the vigorous advocacy of the community members, attorneys, and volunteers in this room today and beyond, I shudder to think what might have happened to our community members. I'm reminded when I traveled to rural Louisiana to see about, with Senator Markey, with a constituent, a community member who had been kidnapped, Rumesa Ozturk. And when we came in, she said, "Thank you. I was worried that God had forgotten about us." And I was so struck by the fact that the Allston car wash workers, our community members here, all of them invoked God and how God kept them. It's incredible that they have remained resolved both in their faith in God and have not completely lost their faith in humanity. And in fact, kept saying over and over again, we're just so moved that people who don't even know us fought so hard for us. And I want you to know that I love you just because you exist. I'm grateful for your contributions in community, but if you weren't doing any of that, we still would have fought hard for you because we see your humanity and you're valued members of our community. This took a coordinated community response to ensure that these workers were granted their constitutional right to due process. As was said here repeatedly, this was unlawful, unconscionable, and unconstitutional. Deeply relieved that my team and I, led by Mateo on my team, could work with our community members to bring 7 of these 9 workers home. But let me be clear, and Donald Trump's terror campaign, and that is what it is, because this was never about public safety. And none of us are safer in a terrorized state. This is stoking bigotry, racism, hate, terrorizing our communities, and we're all being made less safe by this terror campaign. According to the Mirror Coalition, detained immigrants are 10 times more likely to win relief if they have an attorney. And yet in 2024, 40% of all deported individuals never spoke to an attorney at all. That is why when my office learned from community advocates and city officials that 9 people had been abducted, without due process, we acted immediately to connect them with legal counsel. Every day, the Trump administration, every day, not just the ones that make the headlines, every day, the Trump administration continues to harass, assault, and to kidnap our immigrant siblings. Let me be plain. These rogue, masked federal agents are nothing more than glorified bullies masquerading as public servants. They are ripping men, women, and children from our communities, pressuring them to self-deport to countries many have never known. These are our neighbors, our colleagues, people that you live with, work, and worship with. They make up the very fabric of our communities. Even in these trying times, though, I'm not defeated. It's moments like this that fortify me. This extraordinary response of our community. In just 1 month, we have held multiple vigils, marches, protests across the city, raising more than $70,000 to support these workers and their families. And just days ago, volunteers from Luce and beyond, those networks traveled to Texas to free a 22-year-old woman from a prison there. She is now home, safe with her loved ones. As these cases move through the immigration courts, my office will continue to stand shoulder to shoulder with workers and the hundreds of families from across the Massachusetts 7th who have reached out seeking help. You cannot appease this administration. History has shown us that is not the way to beat authoritarianism or to beat a dictator. The only way to beat a dictator, and that is what we have in the Oval Office, is with defiance. And we are being defiant in the boldness of community and of our coordinated response. We will always stand with our immigrant communities because a future without our immigrant neighbors is no future at all. Again, I'm proud to stand alongside this powerful legal and community advocates who are doing the work of justice every day, work that is only possible because of their resolve and their collective courage. And I want to underscore that because we talk a lot about the vulnerability of our immigrant neighbors, but the people doing this work are vulnerable too. And they are displaying not only great compassion, but great courage and bravery to serve our most vulnerable or our most resilient, I'll say, neighbors. And with that, I'll now turn it over to my sister colleague, Councillor Elizabeth Breeden.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for being here. I want to thank former Councillor, Congresswoman Pressley for being here and for convening this round table this afternoon so that we can hear directly from the folks that were abducted and kidnapped and taken away from their communities, their families, and from the neighbourhood. I also want to shout out all the folks at Lucé and all the organisations in the neighbourhood and beyond who rallied in the moment to organise, to elevate the situation and really say, these are our neighbours, these are our colleagues, these are our friends, and we need to do something and get them back home as quickly as possible. We heard from folks from the legal community who worked very hard to get them back. Sadly, this is so widespread and so pervasive across the country, not just in Massachusetts, not just in this district, but all across the country. This is happening to good, hard-working immigrant families, and it's unnecessary, cruel, and really unacceptable. So thank you all for being here, and let's all stand together and build on this movement to try and prevent this happening in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Now we'll hear from Lucé. Yes,
sir. Good afternoon. Good evening. I think like one important thing about Lucé right now is we're trying to think beyond our rapid response. Right now, we have been doing an amazing job on the ground, doing rapid response and fighting against ICE. But something really important is people need to remember who has the power here, which is people. Once we get together and remember who actually run this country, we're going to be able to make some systemic changes. And for that to happen, we really need to be organizing on the ground. We don't want our community thinking that we are only supporting them. We want our community remembering that they are part of this movement. We want our community to remember who has the voice here. On this next year coming, I really think it's really important for all of us who are considering ourselves advocates and who really cares about the immigrant community is organizing ourselves and really thinking how can we impose cost economically and politically, because this is the only way to make some systemic changes. Is planning a boycott, is planning a strike, is planning something where people will organize and coordinated come together and do something with intentionality. Lucé doesn't have the intention to be only responding, only reacting to these moments. Our intention is really organize our community on the ground to bring people power and do something and bring a systemic change. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll hear from the Mass Deportation Defense.
I'd like to thank Congresswoman Pressley for having us all here today. I want to thank my 7 brave clients standing over there and dedicate this to Pablo and Hector. We're not going to stop fighting until we bring them home. These are 9 hardworking, God-fearing people stripped from their communities under the guise of mass deportation now. And what we need is mass deportation defense for them and everyone else that stands victim to this cruel, heartless, unconstitutional regime that's sweeping the streets of America, terrorizing our communities. Enough is enough. And we need to rise together and take a stand against this lawlessness, because this is not the America that we pledged allegiance to as children. This is not the America that they pledge allegiance to. This is not the country that we all believe in. And it's just beyond the pale seeing what happened to these people here. Falsely labeled criminal illegal aliens. Not one of them has a criminal record. And the government lost 7 cases in a row in federal court. And before an immigration judge, not one lawyer from the Department of Homeland Security claimed that any of them had criminal records, despite the rhetoric. Let's get the record straight. None of these people are criminal illegal aliens. They are people deserving of dignity and respect. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we'll hear from a Massachusetts immigrant and refugee advocacy. Mira.
Good evening. My name is Stephanie Rosario Rodriguez, and I represent Mira Coalition. Today is a day of hope. We're bringing people home. However, it does remind us constantly that there's so much more work to do. Today is a day that we should rededicate ourselves to insurance that this doesn't continue to happen, or that when it does, that everyone has the support they need to navigate the complex, difficult, and unjust changes that are happening on the federal level. One way of acting is our new partnership effort with the Committee for Public Counsel Services called the Massachusetts Access to Counsel Initiative, or MACI. Through MACI, which was launched this month, this features a new and free hotline for individuals to ensure, for individuals at the greatest risk, to ensure that they are able to access legal support quickly from trained immigration attorneys. We know that with proper representation, immigrants in detention are 10 times more likely to win relief from deportation. We also know that because immigration enforcement proceedings are civil matters and facing deportation is not guaranteed a court-appointed attorney, many cannot afford one. MACI's statewide network of legal service providers will build on a centralized intake and a referral system across Massachusetts. Through this central intake line, we will work with detained and non-detained individuals from Massachusetts so they are able to request help and be connected with the free legal service providers for possible representation. This program is available for those who need it most. If you know someone, or if you are someone who needs help, please contact us. The phone number is 508-505-4588. Once more, it's 508-505-4588. Today we celebrate bringing families home, but this is just one step in the right direction. But we need to use this moment to remember those that are not here with us today and those who still need our help. So please spread the word. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll hear from the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights.
Thank you and good evening, everyone. I am Brooke Simone, and I am a staff attorney at Lawyers for Civil Rights. I want to thank Congresswoman Pressley for inviting us to this event and for your incredible leadership advocating for immigrants. We are also proud to stand with other elected officials, pro bono allies, community leaders, advocates, and neighbors who have come together to support the families affected by the unlawful and discriminatory raid at the car wash. A little bit earlier today, we gathered to hear directly from the affected workers who lived this nightmare. And despite what the Trump administration says, these are hard-working people, and they were at work, just doing their job. They were just doing their jobs, contributing to the economy, and providing incredibly needed services, all while supporting their families. And ICE agents stormed in, grabbed them, and handcuffed them, and then confined them in detention facilities that were, at least for one person, a few thousand miles away from Boston. The incident at the car wash and the events that happened to this hardworking crew was not right. It was dangerous. It was a discriminatory operation that was fueled by racism, that was carried out with violence and aggression, and that was designed to instill fear. It was intended to destabilize our economy and our workplaces. It was intended to destabilize this entire community. But we will not let that happen. At Lawyers for Civil Rights, we want to make one thing very clear, that targeting people because of their race or where they work and the language that they speak is unconstitutional. It is unlawful. It has no place anywhere in our country. And we see that the federal government is targeting Massachusetts because of our values, but they will not win. In lawsuit after lawsuit, our organization is holding them accountable. At Lawyers for Civil Rights, we will fight to ensure that everyone who is detained at the car wash is able to receive the free legal support that they need and the justice they deserve so they can begin the difficult process of healing. And we will continue to demand accountability. Every single person in our community deserves safety, dignity, and respect. That is not optional. It is a basic human right and a basic civil right. And at Lawyers for Civil Rights, we will continue to push back against any practice that violates those rights, and we will work together in partnership with our allies for a future where immigrant families are not treated as targets, but they are recognized as mothers, fathers, sons, and sisters who are worthy of protection, compassion, and respect. Thank you.
Now we'll hear from the Mass Office for Refugees and Immigrants.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Susan Church, and I have the privilege of serving as the Chief Operating Officer of the Office for Refugees and Immigrants for the state of Massachusetts. I want to extend my gratitude for Congresswoman Pressley and her incredible team that pulled together this group of people that you see here today to work together. I particularly want to thank the Allston car wash workers for their presence today, which alone is a courageous act, but in particular with sharing the really traumatic experience that they endured most recently by their arrest. I'm very appreciative, deeply appreciative, as my office is, of all the immigrant organization and legal teams, including people from the Office for Refugee and Immigrants who work tirelessly to free these families, reunite these workers, and during these very difficult times. Our office receives calls similar to the heartbreaking stories you heard today, depicting the desperation and anxiety of immigrants living, working, and studying in Massachusetts. These calls depict an immigrant community under attack in unprecedented and alarming levels. At the state's Office for Refugees and Immigrants, we're doing what we can to support as many families as possible. We help connect individuals to resources, provide access to legal services, and reunite families whenever possible. But be clear that this is an unprecedented amount of work for all of these people here to support these 9 individuals. And there are many, many more people that need the support of the community. My team and I have traveled throughout the state listening to people to learn. We hear again and again individuals ripped from their homes, ripped from their communities in unbelievable ways by masked armed men. These are people who have built their lives in Massachusetts, worked here, paid taxes, contributed to the economy, and really just desperately wanted to make better lives for themselves and their families. Because of the federal administration's tactics, we are seeing more business owners expressing concerns they can't even run their businesses anymore. Doctors are seeing severely ill patients not showing up for very basic medical care. Churches getting warnings that they're going to have a raid on their churches over Christmas and having worshipers not even feeling safe to worship in a church. Employers cannot run their businesses because essential employees cannot safely get to work. In the face of heightened rhetoric and actions from the federal administration, it is more important than ever that we continue to tirelessly work for immigrant communities to amplify their stories and to stand firmly against the deterioration of due process. Thank you especially to all of you in the immigrant community who stood up and stood out at the call for action in this case and protected the immigrants in our state and continue to do so. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll hear from the Boston Mayor Wu's office for immigrant advancement.
My name is Monique Nguyen. I am the Executive Director of the Mayor's Office for Immigrant Advancement, and I'm here to make sure everyone knows that we are home for everyone. That what has happened here today, they tried to make an example of the 9 workers here, that they can just take folks and kidnap them and disappear them from the communities. But we are making an example that that cannot happen here. A network of organizers, elected officials, community organizations, attorneys, volunteers came together to make sure folks were released, and also now working together to reintegrate them and rebuild their lives. Luce said it best that this work is just the beginning, that after folks are released, that they still have work to do. And us as a community alone, we can't, there is not one actor or one individual that will save us. We all have to come together because what we're up against is bigger than all of us, what we have so far. So that makes us having to step up in many different ways, but also come together in more possible ways that we've better imagined. I want to make sure that you all have information about our constituent services. A lot of immigrants right now are in fear of going to school, not going to work. And there is free immigration consultations through our office at the Mayor's Office of Immigrant Advancement. I'll give you our phone number so our volunteer attorneys can give you any guidance around your case and do safety planning. That's so important during these times. 617-635-2980. Again, 617-635-2980. And we speak over 12 languages in our office that covers the constituents in our city. And then you can also reach out to our office to leverage city resources to rebuild our lives, rebuild your lives through housing stability, through food access, to even navigating re-entry your school. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm so grateful to all of you, and I do have to take a moment of personal privilege. I'm very proud, as an elected official, you get thanked, all the time, but I don't do this work alone. And I thank everyone that named my team, because they know how exhausted people are, and they are exhaustive in their efforts. And when it comes to the Austin car wash workers, much of this advocacy was happening during the shutdown when my staff was going unpaid. And I do also want to say that it is a source of pride for me that we were awarded the award for the congressional office out of Democrats and Republicans for being the most accessible and accountable, and also that our office was named as the most diverse office in our congressional delegation. And I know the media is not here to cover this, but this is an important point. I do believe the people closest to the pain should be the closest to the power. And I have a staff that are not only sympathetic, they are deeply empathetic, because they come from mixed status families. They wear hijabs. They have ethnic names. Their first language is not English. And it makes a difference. And so I just wanted to take a moment, as someone who was an aide for 16 years, I could not do this if I did not have people that were values aligned and that fought for every single person in the Massachusetts 7th as if it was a member of their own family. And they do that. So I just want to thank Mateo. I want to thank Sophia. And I want to thank Dagoberto. My entire team is not here. My entire team isn't here, but I did just wanted to name them specifically. Okay, now I've got to keep these eyelashes on, so let's get to. I'll keep crying about this too. But do we have any on-topic questions? I don't have much to say to him, because I think he's clout chasing off of terror. And so he's someone who just wants attention and oxygen, and I'm not going to give him that. I would rather center the bravery of these workers and the fact that our advocacy on their behalf is not done, because we still have 2 people that are detained, but moreover, their lives have been their livelihoods and lives have been disrupted. There's residual trauma here, and we have to support them. But what we've seen here in Allston, though the rapid response model is one that is an incredible model for the Commonwealth and the country, we're being tested every day with the bandwidth of how we can respond and how we can do that in a sustainable way. We have to be strategic. We have to be collaborative. We need a lot of stamina. And so that's what I'm focused on, is how do we make sure that this does not happen to any other families, any individuals, and when it does happen, that there is a pathway for justice and for wholeness. So that's what I want to focus on. Would any of our legal folks want to speak to that? The latest? Okay.
Yeah, regarding Hector and Pablo, their case is a little bit different, but they still have their habeas petitions pending, and we're engaging in motion practice that we hope will get them released from custody in the next upcoming weeks. Their cases are slightly different. Like, for example, Hector's illiterate. He doesn't read English or Spanish. He was somebody that was being forced to sign away his own deportation at the ICE facility, also being deprived of adequate medical treatment and food. We're seeing this time and time again. Strangers that we get out of jail tell us the same sorry tale about how ICE treats them. It's basically denial of basic human rights and dignity. So we're fighting for him, fighting for Pablo. The cases are slightly more complicated, but at the end of the day, they're not criminal illegal aliens, despite the rhetoric to the contrary.
Your clients asked to sign documents like deportation orders without legal counsel?
Absolutely. For several days, they're at the ICE facility. We sued Tuesday night around 8:30 for 4 of them, and then the next morning, our office filed several, the remaining 5 habeas petitions. We actually filed 10 at first because we thought there was a 10th person in custody. That was in error, but we emailed ICE immediately. This is Attorney Nicole Dill from our office. She was working on this. She can attest to that we call ICE. They used to have a number for attorneys to call. It keeps ringing these days. They don't answer the phone. We send an email, form over saying we're their lawyers. They don't acknowledge it. And then a few days later, the U.S. attorney started reaching out to us saying, according to ICE, several of your clients wish to leave and go back home. And I was like, we're their lawyers. That is false. We're trying to get in contact with them. And we actually sued you in federal court if you didn't notice it. About making a federal case out of something. We have to do that 7 days a week against this administration.
I know you talked a little bit, you don't have to give specific documented process, citizens, residents, what's the range of status?
Well, the range is a teenager at the age of 19 through a 67-year-old man who just had his wife pass away from cancer not too long ago. 4 people spent their birthdays in ICE custody. One of them we got out on his 20th birthday. They're from 4 different countries, different walks of life. They were all uniquely situated in their legal statuses, seeking different. Some of them had work permits. Some of them were in the process of obtaining them. Yet every one of them is entitled to due process, and due process for some is due process for none. Should be getting out soon. That's another lesson in don't believe the rhetoric. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.